All right, why listen to me on this topic? I'm not a therapist. I did not read this in a textbook. I'm just a kid who got an iPod Touch at 9 years old and decided to look up Megan Fox in bikinis for the first time. Not because I was trying to lust, just because I was genuinely curious of female, the feminine, right? And that created a very vicious habit, and it stuck with me for 17 years, and even into a marriage. And I feel like now I have control over it, and it's not the traditional. What I learned is not the traditional way of going about it, and that's why I feel called to talk to people about it. And so here are a couple things that I wish somebody would have explained to me when I was younger or while I was going through this. So the first thing is to understand what porn is actually doing for you, right? Think of it like this: porn is serving you, right? It might not be serving you long term for your goals, but it is serving you in a way. And maybe it's a temporary relief. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but it is serving you, and we need to figure out what it is serving us for. I realized a lot of times that I looked at porn wasn't just because I was super horny and I wanted to lust. It was, if I rewind my day, I was really stressed at work. I didn't give myself space to turn off from work and to turn on into home. I doom scrolled way longer than I wanted to. I felt disconnected from my wife. Porn was really the only thing that I wanted, not for lust, but for relief. And this was one of the biggest realizations for me is, sometimes you genuinely are horny and that's totally fine. But a lot of times porn is a really fast way on how to change how you feel. If you feel stress, go to porn. If you feel lonely, go to porn. If you feel bored, go to porn, right? Stress, you get the relief. Loneliness, you get the artificial connection. Boredom, you get the novelty. Feeling rejection, porn won't reject you. Anxiety, turn everything off for a second and just lock into the screen. And it really does turn everything else off. So instead of only asking, how do I stop wanting porn? I started asking, what am I actually wanting right now? And this question gets a lot closer to the real problem. And this is where it can get even more messed up, because after using porn to escape feeling bad, I would make myself feel even worse. I would watch porn and I'd feel horrible about myself. I would promise God, never again. And, the next couple days I'd be mad at myself, and then I'd look at porn again. And I thought that the shame and the guilt and the heaviness of it was helping me. And I thought feeling terrible meant that I was actually trying. I was trying to show God that I was really serious about this, and I felt like crap, right? But what I didn't understand is that I was creating more of the exact emotions I used porn to escape from. For example, I felt stressed or lonely, I would use porn. Then I would feel shame, and now I felt even more stressed and even more lonely, and then I would want another escape to porn. It was like I was trying to put out a fire with gasoline. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that we should celebrate doing something that goes against our values. There is a difference between shame and guilt. I don't think shame serves us at all. Guilt can serve you in a sense. Shame is I am bad, right? And guilt is I did something bad, right? And we want to distinguish those two. You aren't a bad human if you looked at porn. It may be contrary to your values, and that's okay, and we can work with that. But saying that you're disgusting and saying what the hell's wrong with you because you just looked at porn, you're married, you shouldn't do that. You're a man of God, you shouldn't do that. It only creates more shame, which creates more hiding, which creates more isolation and loneliness, which creates more urges to escape to porn. And so when I finally started to understand this, there was still a pretty obvious problem. And that problem is that the urges to view porn didn't go away once I understood, the why underneath it. And I used to think that there were basically only two options when an urge to view porn would show up. Either you give in, right? You view, or you run. You go outside, you put the phone away, you call someone, you distract yourself, you pray harder, go to your scriptures, cold shower, whatever. And those things can definitely help you. And honestly, I still use some of those today. But if your entire strategy is running from the feeling, you never learn that you can actually feel the urge without giving into it. So the urge, if we think about what the urge actually is, it's a really just uncomfortable feeling. And describe the feeling, like for me, it's like a tightness in my chest, like a rubber band stretching. It's very uncomfortable, but if we're being totally honest with ourselves, it can't hurt us. It's not going to kill us. And you can just sit there and literally feel this. And that's why I don't like counting days. I don't think that's a good representation of how well one is doing. I think it's more about how many urges can we sit through without turning to pornography? How many urges can we overcome? And you sit there and you say, man, I really want to look at porn right now, and I'm not going to go. And that's the skill. That's not making the urge disappear instantly. It's not becoming a monk who never thinks about sex. It's feeling a desire for relief, for connection, for whatever it is, like our first point, without needing to act on it. And so that's the third thing. And then the fourth and the last thing that I would recommend to anybody trying to quit this is stop doing this alone. I remember I was 2 years into marriage, really struggling with this. I just couldn't figure out why I was going to porn so much. And I had read somewhere online that opening up about it can help. And so I was at a men's retreat with 50 leaders, 50 men that I respected, that I looked up to, that were mentors of mine. And we did a breathwork thing, and we all were sharing kind of our takeaways. And I just had this feeling to go up and talk about my experience with pornography, not as something in the past, because usually when men talk about it, they're like, if this thing in the past, blah, blah, blah. Like, no one talks about it like as a current thing. And my impression was, talk about it as a current issue that you're really struggling with. And so I went up in front of these 50 men. I thought I was going to throw up, and I told all of them. And two things happened that were very surprising to me. The first is a lot of men after that came up to me and said they were dealing with the exact same thing. I think the percentage is like 93% of men are actually struggling with this. The second thing is all of those men didn't look at me any differently. They actually loved me more than they did before, because now I was open and raw with them. And so that experience, I felt like for the first time, the grips of this just like loosened on me. And I felt like I was finally starting to, go a couple days, a couple weeks without having urges, because there's so much shame tied into it that once you got rid of that shame, the urge to escape the shame is gone, right? And so I want to challenge everybody that's watching this video. If you're alone in this, I really want to challenge you to talk to 3 people about this, whether that's your parents, whether that's your spouse, whether that's your friends, whether that's a bishop or a church leader, like whoever it is, just talk to them about it. And you can have accountability, right? I think accountability can be good, but I think more than accountability, men just need a friend, someone that you can call and just say, man, today like really sucked. My marriage feels hard. I feel lonely. I'm stressed out of my mind because of finances, without instantly feeling like you're terrible, right? And so I would stay clear from making your spouse or your girlfriend your accountability partner, because there's such an emotional attachment to your result. But I do believe in honesty, right? Remember this, secrets keep you sick. And so if you are keeping a secret, it's going to keep you sick. And so go talk to some friends, find a group, you know, get therapy, get professional help if you need it. I actually host a group of guys, and we walk through this together. If you're looking for support and you can't find it in your area, or you don't feel like you have family or friends to go to, come chat with us. We'd love to see if we can help you with this. Anyways, so when I say defeat lust without trying, I don't mean that you're ever going to feel attraction again, or I don't think that you're never going to struggle with porn again, and I don't think that should be the goal. You are a sexual human being living in an overly sexualized digital world. Desire is part of you. And the reason this eventually started feeling easier for me is because I stopped spending all of my time trying to kill the desire. And I started understanding why I wanted the escape. I stopped beating the crap out of myself when I struggled, and I learned to sit with the urge without needing to escape to it. And then I stopped doing everything on my own. So maybe defeating lust isn't becoming a man who never feels desire or who looks at porn again. Maybe it's becoming a man who can feel it all the crappy emotions and everything, and still choose his life without needing to numb out or escape. Hope this helps, guys. I freaking love you all. You got this.